Okay, this lesson is over the slope formula. A lot of times they might give you, instead of giving you 2 points on the graph, they might just give you the coordinates of the 2 points and ask you to find the slope between those 2 points. Now what you could do, a good strategy would always be to graph the 2 points on a piece of graph paper and then, draw your triangle and do the rise over the run. Or if you didn't want to use graph paper and draw the figure, you could always use the slope formula. Now, we've talked a lot about slope being the change in y over the change in x, and we've used, this shorthand for change in y over change in x. When you talk about a value changing, you're really talking about the difference between the two, right? It's the difference in the two y values over the difference in the two x values. So that's where the formula comes from. It's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I'm going to skip down here and I'm going to start working these out. The first thing, whenever I am working formula math, the first step is always write the formula. And it's something I do every single time. Just keeps me organized. It's just a good habit to get into. And this should be a 1. Let's see. There we go. x2 minus x1. Now these little numbers here, these are just subscripts. It's just a way to delineate between the two y values and the two x values. What I always do is I start off by labeling my two coordinate pairs. Right? This is x1, y1, this is x2, y2. All right? And then you just fill in the values as they come. y2 is 8 minus y1 is 3 over x2 is 4 minus x1 is negative 2. Be careful. It looks weird, but that's the way you have to plug it in, because this minus sign is part of the formula and this negative sign is the value that goes with x. Okay? Now if you're good with integers, you can just go ahead and do this. You can say 8 minus 3 is 5, and this is actually 4 plus 2, because minus and negative is plus. 4 plus 2 is 6. And there's my answer. If you're not great with integers, I highly recommend you get your calculator out and you do this on the calculator. Do not let the fact that you are not so great at integers make you get something pretty simple wrong. Alright, I'm going to do control divide, and I'm going to put 8 minus 3 on the top, and I'm going to put 4 minus negative 2 on the bottom and hit enter. 5 over 6. Okay? Number 2. I'm writing the equation again. Gee, every time, Miss Colvin, you're going to write the equation? Yep, because it's a good habit to get into. Okay? I label my points x1, y1, x2, y2. Could I have switched it and put this one over here, x2, y2 over here, and x1, y1 over here? Yes, you can. Okay? I'm going to fill in the numbers. I've got y2 labeled as 2, so 2 minus negative 6 on top. And then my x's, x2 is negative 5 minus 7. I'm pretty good with integers. I'm going to go ahead and say this is 2 plus 6, and negative 5 minus 7 is negative 12, and then that will simplify to negative 2/3. If you're not great with integers, you should do this. You should say control divide. On top, I'm going to put 2 minus negative 6. And on bottom, I'm going to put negative 5 minus 7. I'm going to hit enter. And I got the right answer. Okay? Alright, now when my daughter was in 8th grade, she hated the slope formula. And it does look kind of messy and confusing. I'm not a big fan of it myself. And what she always did was she took both of her points and she stacked them into a table. 1, 2, and 5, 2. This is x and this is y. Now we've got a table, and we've been dealing with tables for a very long time now, right? You do your change in y from 2 to 2, that's 0 change. And from 1 to 5, that's plus 4. So change in y over change in x, that's 0 over 4, which equals 0. 0 slope. This would be one of those horizontal lines, those flat lines on the graph. Now just to show you that you would get the same thing if you use the slope formula, if I wrote my formula, m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, fill it in, here's x1, y1, and x2, y2, fill this in, I get 2 minus 2 on top, and 5 minus 1 on the bottom. And 2 minus 2 is 0, 5 minus 1 is 4. That still equals 0, either way. Okay? And the last one, I'm going to stack it again. I'm going to do that first. 2, 1, and 2, 5. This is changing by 4, this is changing by 0, my change in y is 4, my change in x is 0, ooh, and anything divided by 0 is undefined. You cannot divide by 0. And if you remember, undefined would be that straight up and down line on the graph. Alright? Just to show you get the same thing even if you use the formula. I'm going to write my formula, y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1, label my points, and fill it in. y2 is 5 minus 1, and then x2 is 2 minus 2, and I get 4 over 0. Which is undefined. Either way. That's it. You can either use the slope formula and fill in the numbers, or you can stack your points and do it as a table like we've been doing. That's it.